Yeah, for being down. Okay, there we go. Christoph, aka Novridge, welcome to the Kicking Mustang podcast. Real honour to have you here, and welcome.
Thanks for having me.
This morning, what I normally do, normally at the start of the podcast, I'll go through the news. I haven't got much news because obviously we're in lockdown. There isn't a huge amount happening. I've been all that's new in my world today is going through, waking up, checking my YouTube, and seeing one of my new uploads has been demonetized for no apparent reason. And it's just a compilation of old videos that I've uploaded, and so I've made a compilation, and it's been demonetized. There's a human has demonetized it as well. It's had human review, and they've demonetized it for no apparent reason. So yeah, that's what's new in my world. What's going on in Planet Novridge under lockdown? The weirdest time we've probably known in our lives. What's it like running Novridge in this strange Corona time?
Before that, I don't recommend it to wake up and check demonetization. I think it's the worst way to wake up. There is you can only lose in this game. I think you can't really influence it. It's purely based on the mood of some guy sitting somewhere judging your videos. I would do that somewhere around that. But at Norwich, how's it going? Things are getting back to normal. People can go back into the office, and it's been a weird time because the past 2 months we've literally locked ourselves in here. Like we had mattresses.
How many people? Because let's just for, I'm sure everybody knows who you are, but just for people who don't know who you are and what you do, can you just give us in a few short words who you are?
My name is Christoph. I'm some dude playing airsoft. I happen to strap a GoPro to my head and make a couple airsoft videos, which nobody back then really did it. Became big. People asked which product I'm using, and I thought, let's create cool products, bring them to the market. Yeah, and it turned from just YouTube, kind of like media, let's call it company. Is it even a company? It's just a guy doing what he likes to do. It became like an international retail distribution business, developing business, and a media business, I guess. So we make products for the community, and we still do the video side.
How many people do you employ?
It's 19 right now.
And how many of them were living under the same roof when lockdown hit?
So first of all, it's 2 roofs. The Norwich office is 2 offices. It's actually 3 by now. But in the same, let's say in the same build, it's like one building with different roofs. Okay, let's call it one building anyways.
Yeah.
It was 8 people and under the same roof, which was mostly developers, because for development you need a lathe, you need a mill, you need a 3D printer, you need an SLA printer, you need all of those equipment, and if you go home, you can't do it anymore, right? While customers are not purchasing all of this, it can be done from home. So when the whole quarantine thing started, I just stared into everyone's eyes and was like, okay, it's your call now. You either lock yourself in your home for 2 months, or you lock yourself together here. We buy a bunch of beers, and we just work from here. We sleep here. I also told everyone that he can bring his girlfriend or some girl if he can't. If he can't do it for 2 months, we need
So you had volunteers. Was it like hands up? Who wants to volunteer for this impossible mission?
Yeah, that's what we did. And in the end, it was I think 6 employees, and 2 of them brought girls in, and that's how we lived. I mean, if when we made the SG24, I didn't look at, am I actually allowed to sell this? To which countries can we even sell? It's more like let's just do, and then later on we try if it's, if there are certain regulations that need to be, that need to be fulfilled. Because I think if you always just look at regulations, you end up in a pile of paperwork, and in the end you don't even start doing anything.
Yeah, sometimes it's best to do and then figure it out later. Yeah, for
it's
sure.
more like do I personally think it's okay, like from an ethical standpoint and from a gut feel, and if it's green light, then it's just okay, let's fucking go.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. So people who don't know, you're based in central Austria. Which city are you in? Vienna.
It's Vienna.
Yeah, and your office is right in the heart of Vienna.
Yes, pretty much in Harden.
Yeah. Do you have any? Have you had? Because you live in the office as well, so it's your home and your office and your stock room and your customer service and every. You literally live and breathe.
Yeah. So I live at.
Can you give us a tour of Norwich? Give us a tour of the Norwich home.
Okay, so
where are you at the moment? Where are you?
This is like living area. So this is.
I recognise that.
It's weird to give the tour because this used to be kind of like my apartment. Mm-hmm. But the more people we hired, it was kind of like, well, there's enough space, just put a desk here into the living room and let's start working from here. And more, what used to be my private space became like public office space. And all that's left from this apartment is like a tiny, tiny, tiny bedroom where I lock myself every night. But yeah, this is like living room. This used to be the kitchen. There's no tables anymore because the employees stole it for actual office work. Because we hired a bunch of new people.
So is that the top floor? That's the very top of the.
That's the top floor. Yeah. So it's basically a house. It's like an entire house in Vienna.
Yeah.
Here is like part of the office. This used to be the kitchen table, or my kitchen table, which it's not anymore.
How many people work down on this floor? We're seeing quite a few chairs down here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Cool.
9. Right over there. Yeah. So that's
did that used to be your living area down there, or?
Yeah, exactly. It used to be a huge place. It was actually a really nice apartment, but well.
It does. It looks stunning. Well, I've been there. It's a lovely place. What's the what was the thinking behind when you started the business? Was it just I've got this apartment, I'm going to start running the business there, and it just expanded, or have you considered moving out of Vienna?
When I chose the apartment, it was like, okay, it's big enough to maybe start a business in here. And yeah, it's actually cool by now. We're looking right now for a new office, which is going to be very sad for me because then I don't live at my work anymore. I will have a way to
get
work
up and commute.
It's going to be a new step in my life, moving out of work.
No, it'll be good to have some space though, won't it? I'm someone who's always worked from home and had my work always around me, and it is nice to be able to have that escape and be able to turn off. But when you work for yourself, it's kind of hard, isn't it, to switch off?
I think it depends because the work I'm doing at this company is actually only the work that I like to do. So I only do product development and only do media and everything that's like anything legal, accounting, even customer service, like that's all things I don't do personally. I just, hire people to do it. And I think as long as the things that I do in this company are stuff, it's stuff that I would do anyways, I don't see a problem that it gets so intertwined. I mean, I literally catch myself sometimes I go like off work and then I work on a private gun that's actually not for the company.
Yeah.
And then I just catch myself, I go like, well, if I'm actually working on this private gun, why the hell do I not just make a gun for the company? And this is actually how most of the projects start. Like when you look at the SSX-23, I just wanted to build a Mark 23 and then I built it and I looked at it and I thought, we could just make this for the masses, right? It's not all that complex to do that. And that's how those projects start.
What does SSX stand for?
So it comes from the SSG lineup, and SSG stands for Scharfschützengewehr 24, because it's based on M24. SSG is that's how they name it at the Austrian military. And we kind of like stuck to this naming, so SSP is like Scharfschützenpistole, sharpshooter pistol, basically. And then we were, okay, now we have a suppressed pistol, I don't want to call it SSP because it's not a gas blowing system, and then we just chose a cool letter, and that was X. That's all it is. Yeah.
Cool. So when you've got so you're in a residential area, do you have any problems with people spotting you moving guns in and out of the office? Have you had any run-ins with local residents?
It does happen, but you mean like where I work, or if I walk out?
Like nosy neighbours. Do you have neighbours rustling the curtains and seeing you moving guns in and out of the office and asking unnecessary questions?
I think they're used to it by now. We try to not, throw it into people's faces that we make guns, because we're actually in a very, very I would say, a very liberal district, like people that just it's a hippie district basically, the 7th district. It's like American and they save the whales and all that. And making guns in this district, it's a kind of district where people smear onto butchers' windows that they shouldn't slaughter meat. Like it's that kind of district.
Okay.
So we are not advertising that this is the company. We're basically like hiding in this house and doing nothing.
Yeah. When we were in the car heading over when I was at the launch of the SSG 10. And I think we're in the car and we're driving. You told me a story about
Your number's still 911? Oh, righty then.
Listen, I know we're not supposed to say that, but we have all been there. Yeah, all done that.
It's the yeah, man. Testing an airsoft gun is just a logistical nightmare.
Yeah, fun times. So Novridge, the YouTube channel. Let's talk about. I'll talk a little about YouTube because I started my YouTube channel seriously in 2018. I did start recording and putting stuff out in 2017. I only really seriously got at it in 2018. You've been doing it a lot longer. You started your channel in 2015, or was it 2014?
I think 2014.
Yeah, and when you started, you were were you the first doing YouTube, or there was a guy in America as well?
No. There was the sniper godfather of scope cams is Bar156. Like he was the guy who. Yeah. I think he's the reason why we're all here to some degree, because he was the first guy who put like a camcorder onto a rifle and just shot a couple of beavers. Yeah. So that was the first guy, but he uploaded I think once a year.
Yeah, in those days, you go back 5 years. In those days, when an airsoft video was on YouTube, it was like, wow, you can see the scope, and it was amazing, wasn't it? That you could actually just see someone shooting these guns at each other. It was incredible. Yeah,
it was a completely new thing, and like Bar156, he actually progressed very fast in how he made videos, and when you look at it, it's actually very sad in how little progress is done since then. Because on his first video, it's just a zoom cam. On his second video, it's a zoom cam and a head cam. On its third video, it's already like the camera setup that pretty much any airsoft YouTuber has. And I think the only thing that changed since then is shoulder cameras and 360 cameras. Besides that, it didn't change much, I would say.
And even the 360 cameras, they haven't changed the techniques we use of editing. It's just a slightly different angle, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You have different angles. You could I mean, I don't have to tell you. You can like see what's behind you. You can basically move the image. You can do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, the 360s are cool. Yeah, in the right situation, they have been a real changer. When you look back at when you start, if you hadn't have done what you did 5 years ago, and you were starting out now, let's say you were 20. How old are you, by the way? 28, 27, 29?
Is this a Marui?
How old are you?
Is this a Marui? Wait, before I answer this, is this a Marui VSO 10 fake dummy round?
Yeah. Yeah. I got a new Marui VSR 10 for testing the other day, and this was in the box. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's in the Pro Sniper. I tried to load it to a real gun, it doesn't work.
Well, yeah. Five. How old are you? 28, 29, 27?
I'm 27.
Holy crap! You're super young, man. You're making me feel old. Like you are really 27 is incredibly young to be running a business, running that many people.
I actually wish I would be older, because every time that so when you want to make a product, obviously we don't own a factory, right? We fly out to China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and we just we hop from factory to factory to factory, and we find the right suppliers for what we want to make. And people just they don't take us seriously because we're such a young company. I think our oldest employee is 32 years old. So we're like an extremely young company, and if we go somewhere, we just people look at us like we're a bunch of kids, basically.
Those kids from YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Like those point kids just waste stuff.
What do you know? Yeah, what do you know? I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine.
It's been sure ever since. I'm just sitting here, and I hope I'm just aging faster.
Yeah, is that why you keep growing the beard?
I think it helps.
Yeah, for sure. I keep shaving mine off, trying to fight the other. I'm going the other way. I'm going to shave it shorter. If you were 22-year-old Novridge again, or 21-year-old Novridge now, and you just finished university or you done what you've done, and you were playing airsoft, and you started again, do you think you could do it again? Imagine if you were starting from scratch now. Do you think if you started? Yeah, if you were just Christoph, and you just you don't think you could do it?
It's a straight honest. There's no way. There's just no way. Because it was I think I'm a really, really, really lucky human being. I've always had the luck to do the right thing at the right time without knowing that it's the right thing. It wasn't just like a coincidence. I basically stumbled into this business. So I'm not a like super sharp-minded businessman-minded guy. It's just, I wanted to make videos. Well, there was a market for it. On accident, it got big. I wanted to make a rifle. There was a market for it, so it got big. It was all those coincidences on top of each other, and it just added up to what it is right now.
But I think that's true of a lot of people who are successful, and a lot of people who end up doing what they love in life is they just do what they like to do. And if it feels, going back to your putting out the SSG, you just did it because you felt it was right. You weren't quite sure whether it was legal. You just thought it was the right thing to do, and you went and did it. Like when you made videos, you thought it was the right thing to do, and you thought it would be fun, and you did it, and these things just happen. And although luck might have something to do with it, you make your own luck, and normally that comes down to just doing, not thinking so much, and just doing it because it feels right to do it.
I mean, it's pretty much the same story when I look at what you're doing. You're not doing it of an urge of, I want to make this huge and successful. It's more like or at least that's what I assume. Like you just want to do it, you enjoy doing it, and at the same time you enjoy growing a community, and zack, boom, it just happens.
Exactly. I think that's good advice for anybody, no matter what they're doing in life. If you enjoy what you're doing, and it doesn't matter whether it becomes big and successful and make lots of money, or whether you don't get millions of subscribers, as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, that's the main thing. But then what tends to happen is if you enjoy doing what you love, if you love doing something and you do it passionately, it's not like work, and you put more and more time into it and energy, and people tend to congregate to you because they have that same shared passion. And no matter what you're doing in life, I think that's the secret to being able to do what you love for a living.
I think it's a dangerous advice, actually. I think it's
think so?
I think it's dangerous advice. I think the frame and the advice, follow your passion for your career, is a very, like, if a guy comes to me now and say, well, I really like make as of YouTube videos. Yeah. I would say, okay, do it because you like it, but I tell you,
that's what I'm saying.
Impossible to become successful in this by now. It's like this market has become so competitive.
Yeah.
Because it's so accessible by now. Because when you look at businesses and what determines, man, maybe this podcast is becoming too business oriented.
No, it's good, mate. It's good.
But I think if something is accessible, competition builds up very fast. Like making a YouTube video is not hard anymore. You buy a scope cam off the shelf, you buy a head cam off the shelf. They're not even expensive anymore.
Yeah. There are some guys out there making great content, and if it was even 2 years ago, they would have been blowing up. I mean, people like Fox Green, he makes some fab videos, but his channel is growing, but it's like just ticking over. That Rep the Airsofter, he makes some great stuff. Over in America, some cool videos, and his clickbait is good. He's got these really nice thumbnails and the titles, and everything is there for it. And you look at his channel and think, why isn't it growing anymore? It's good content. Maybe it is just a very competitive landscape.
It definitely is. I mean, there's still people. I don't actually know. I stop analyzing it. I don't understand it. For me, YouTube is just a black hole of an algorithm, and I believe that not even the people at YouTube understand the artificial intelligence behind the algorithm anymore.
What about Silo? What about Silo blowing up in the last 2 years?
That's been insane. That's like, why? I mean, obviously the videos are highly entertaining. They're super fast paced, and he has good ideas, and he makes amazing thumbnails. But so do like 20 other channels. But he just found that, I don't know. It's
something clicked, didn't it? And with the way, not just in that channel blowing up, not just in terms of Airsoft, but in as a YouTube channel.
It's like an entertainment channel, yeah.
Yeah, it's not even about
Airsoft. It's Silo Entertainment, and I think it fits very well. Actually, it is an entertainment channel.
Yeah. No, whether this has gone on to another different subject actually, about like whether people like YouTube personalities or not. I can't see how people cannot respect the work that someone like Silo puts in. Like, I personally don't like watching his videos. They're not for me, but you can't not respect how the work that has gone into them and the work that someone like that has put into his channel, and you think, wow, that's really cool that someone gets that success. But then as you get bigger, you get to a certain size, and all of a sudden these haters start, and the bigger you get, the more haters you get. Now, someone like myself or Silo, you often see, probably myself more than Silo, but you often see people directing hate towards them, completely unfounded often. Now, this appears in comment sections, in groups, on Reddit. Someone introduced me to that Reddit. I've never really used Reddit, and someone introduced me to that a few weeks ago, and I started looking on that, and the misinformation and lies and fake news that happens on social media about people like us who put videos out, it's kind of hard to it's hard to ignore it. How do you've in your time, you've had a lot of people direct hate towards you. Often it is not justified, or it's lies. How do you deal with it? Because I don't think I've really seen you reacting in comments or in forums. How do you deal with it when you see this? Do you see it at all? Do you just not read comments? Do you read comments?
I don't read that much anymore, and that's mostly because I believe that what's on Reddit or even in like highly toxic Facebook groups, I think it doesn't represent what's happening in the Airsoft community. I also believe that it's a small amount of very loud shouting people. Or I would even say if a guy thinks something is all right or cool, he just watches it and he just clicks away. But if a guy just wants to be heard and wants to hate, he just comments. So
100%.
If there's like 100 comments and there's like 10 hate comments, and it would represent that 10% of the people don't like it, it's not representative for what it really is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's what I believe. And I think if you pay too much attention on what people hate about what you do, you go into a wrong direction. You get pushed in a direction that's not the way where you should go.
It's not you either. It's you change yourself because someone hate you. You can't do that. If you start changing yourself, it's not just as a YouTuber, but in life. Just because someone doesn't like what you do, you shouldn't be changing what you do if you believe what you're doing is right. Perhaps you can consider how people perceive you, but I don't think, if people hate you because what they watch on YouTube, and then you take their comments to heart and you change what you do, I think that's a recipe for not being very happy in life.
I guess so. How about you? How do you handle it? How do you get affected by it in your personal life?
It's a combination of ignoring, but also for some reason it kind of fuels me on, because I know deep inside me that what I am true to myself when I make content. I also care about my community, and the people who matter to me know what I'm like. So people in my Sniper Ops community, the people who I communicate with on direct messages, the people I speak to in real life in safe zones, they know what I'm really like, and they're the people that matter. And I think when you're secure in how you feel about yourself and what you're doing and your reasons for doing things, then the noise of people who you've never met, who are just behind a keyboard, doesn't matter that much. For some reason, there's something inside me that makes me want to prove those haters wrong, and it fuels me to do even more of it. You know,
that's one way to motivate yourself. Yeah. No, it's
I have a thing where if I happen to read a hater's comment, I then force myself to go and make another piece of content. Now, that could be anything. That could just be like a short story. It could be a picture of something I'm doing. It could be an Instagram post, or it could be going and editing a new video. But I've got into the habit of forcing myself, if I come across a hater's comment, I will then go out of my way to go and make a piece of positive.
I've noticed that
in response to it.
That's
I think that's a good piece of advice. Yeah, I think that's a good piece of advice to anybody who's doing or it has ambition of putting out social media content. If you come across people who send hate your way, just turn it on its head and turn it into a habit that you then go out and actually produce positive content in response.
It's one way to do it. Yeah. I'm not saying it's wrong or right, but it's definitely a way of creating content, and it's very often just about creating something, right? It's just putting something up.
Yeah, you don't have to create. It's not about creating something magical. It's just about putting something out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's often all you need to do. Talk about what do you think of headshot dramas?
Of what? Headshots
and the dramas surrounding it.
It's a very, very polarizing topic, and we've actually talked about it when we were driving to the launch event, to the actual game. Talked about it.
Tell us what happens when you get a headshot, when you go out and you play airsoft.
Yeah.
You take your shot and the BB flies through the air and hits someone in the head. You get back to your studio. What do you do with that footage?
Well, okay, first of all, I don't edit it anymore. But
lucky you.
Lucky me, yeah. I don't want to put myself into like a positive spotlight, but I don't think I do a lot of headshots, and that's because, and people are always surprised that I say that, but I don't experience cheaters. The reason why I don't make cheater videos is not because I try to put I try to put a positive spotlight on a community. It just doesn't happen to me. I don't know why, but maybe it's, I go to the field and people go like, oh, there's the guy making, he has a camera on there. Better not, because otherwise you end up on the internet and the community's going to hate you.
It could be the community you play in, though. It could just be that community. Certain communities are plagued by it and certain communities don't have it.
I just don't feel like there's cheaters here, and so I don't have a reason to. I go for the head if only the head is peeking out and if it doesn't look like the body's moving out. But a headshot is just a smaller probability of hitting the.
They happen though, don't they? They do happen sometimes. So if you shoot at someone at 80 meters, these guns are not as accurate as we make them out to be.
No,
they're just not. So when they happen, when I edit my videos, if I take a shot and it hits someone in the head, when I get back, I'll zoom it in, I'll slow it down, I'll move the crosshairs to where it impacts, and I'll make it look like it was a super accurate.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where maybe this is where the drama comes from, because what's good to watch also attracts the justice warriors who say that you shouldn't go for headshots. Do you when you have headshots in your videos, do you find you have people making a big thing about it?
I think it depends on the frequency. If you have like one headshot in a video, it doesn't matter. But if you put on a headshot compilation, which is like 50 headshots in 5 minutes, it becomes an issue. Yeah, it becomes an issue. And I understand why, because I think that's where we do have a different opinion. Because I get the idea of you need to take the guy down with one shot, and if he just turns around, he's not sure if he got shot, and he gives away your position. From your play style, I totally get why you do it. What I think is a difficult topic on this is if you're like a hardcore airsoft player and you play since 5 years, you don't feel BBs anymore. You get shot in the head. It's actually refreshing. It's like it wakes you up. It's not a BB to the shoe. It's like and I think this might sound weird, but I think it's really important that airsoft hurts, because you should be afraid of the round. It's what keeps the adrenaline high, and it's what makes the sport so. It's so many emotional peaks in an airsoft games, and if it wouldn't hurt, you wouldn't have that. But at the same time, if let's say you're a beginner, you play your first game you go there, you play your first game, and that's what I hear very often from people trying paintball. Like they go there, they never go back again because it just hurts like a motherfucker. And I think if you go to an airsoft game and it's your first game and it's basically the potential of community growth, and then you get shot in the head like 5 times a day, maybe you just say it's not for me. And that's where there's two sides to it. There's just two sides to it. There's no
yeah,
right.
No, I get that. Yeah, I get. I sympathise with your feelings of you like it to hurt a little bit. Like when I get hit in the head, it feels really like conclusive. It's like, bosh, I'm out, and it just feels good to be taken out. That's how I feel. Maybe we're weird. Maybe we're not normal. I don't know.
I think it's like I don't think a guy goes into an airsoft game and the first headshot he gets, he enjoys it. But at some point you get, I would even say, immune to airsoft PVs. For example, when we did the full thrust injury picture, it was literally like, okay, we need a picture of like damaged skin by PV so we can compare the surface damage of the different diameters. And there is no, like, I don't even have to think a second. It's just, okay, I just go out there 10 meters, just shoot me in the head. And if you would, tell like, okay, I take some girl from the service team who maybe didn't play airsoft in her life, and I would say, okay, put the arm out there, I'm gonna shoot you in the arm. It would be ridiculous, right? And we just have a different way that we handle the pain because we're so used to it.
Yeah, no, that could be well be that. What's your on camera persona when you come across as a really nice guy, not just in the gameplays, but when you're doing your vlogs and your the stuff on the Novridge technical channel. What's the other one? What's the Novridge Tactics? That's it. You come across as a nice guy. Is that what you're like all the time? Are you really as chilled out and as nice in real life as you are on the camera? Do you think? What's Novridge away from the camera like? As a person? Real Novridge, yeah.
Novridge, I'm not showing.
Tell us something about you that people may not know.
Something that people may not know.
What do you love doing that's not airsoft?
Okay, I tell you something that people don't know. I hate traveling. I think it's a pain in the ass.
Is that why you've got a Tesla that drives itself?
No, that's because my business partner insisted. It's like there's like tax reasons. If you get a Tesla, it's actually way cheaper than getting a combustion car because you don't pay taxes on it in Austria.
So is it the driving, or is it actually traveling? So flying, trains, everything you don't like?
Anything that's A to B and all the hassles that are related to it. And I'm saying this because I have to travel a lot. Like I'm on airplanes, I would say 12 times a year. And I'm not talking 2-hour flights, I'm talking like 15-hour flights. And then, you're in Taiwan in like an industrial district, which is not beautiful. It's not like a residential area with a nice park and everything. It's like hardcore industrial zones with, factory over factory over factory. And that's why I spend a lot of time. So you're like in those shit hotels there, and you have to deal with Chinese-speaking taxi drivers. And you're traveling with guns sometimes, or sample parts, and you have to defend yourself at the airport. And you're sitting in your squeezed flight seat, and it's just, God, I hate it. Which is also why you won't see much footage of me anymore going different places.
When was the last time you flew to play? Would that have been a Milsim West event, maybe?
No, that's the last time I flew to play was probably...
a long time ago then.
I think Russia is like 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
I was talking to a chap today, actually, about going out to Russia for a game. Do you think it's worth it?
Yeah. I think, okay, if I would travel ever again for a game, I think only Russia could convince me.
Wow.
Just because it's so wild to play airsoft there. But it's wild in a good way and in a bad way. Like when it comes to safety, I feel like there's a high chance that you actually die at a Russian airsoft game. I'm not
run over by a tank or something.
Yeah, like you get run over by a tank, or like a tag-in impact round hits you in the face from like 10 meters away. Man, it's just that there's the stuff that they're using there. I would go so far and say it's not okay to use it in a game. It's totally irresponsible what they're doing there. But at the same time, that makes it so interesting to go there. It's just because it's so different. It actually, because you're not afraid of an AEG in the next room anymore, right? You enter a room, there's a guy pointing a barrel into your face. You just, I don't fucking care. You don't turn around and say, okay, I'm out. You just pull your pistol and you just kill the motherfucker, right? But if you go to Russia, all of a sudden, there's like stuff exploding right, like the grenade exploding right next to your face. This is the stuff that happens all the time. Or a tank fires a blank round right next to you, and you don't hear anything anymore for like 5 minutes. You have all of those.
Epic. So that's your most memorable airsoft experience, do you think, Russia?
It's like, it's so scary that you can't forget it.
Nice. Sounds good.
It's nice, yeah. I would.
What's your favourite field? If you had to, what's your favourite field? Is it still obviously the urban? You're known for the urban area. That's where your first viral videos blew up.
I think the urban area is a good field if you see it from a footage generation perspective.
Sure. And you can go there and play, and you play one day, and you can get like 4 videos out of one day there, can't you? It's crazy.
Yeah. Maybe 4 is a little high, but always at least 2.
Yeah,
maybe 3. Yeah. I think what's important to making videos is going to a field where there's rentals. That's like the key to a good video.
It's like selling peas, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Chambers. I can't believe you've not been to the Chambers in Belgium.
Yeah, it's far.
It's like playing against zombies there.
Yeah. I believe that, yeah. As soon as there's rentals, it's actually against what I said before with, you shouldn't do headshots because then the rentals stop. But at the same time, it's like a rental is just so good for footage. Just keep coming and you just take them down one by one. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, it. Yeah, it's good stuff. Okay, fun question. What annoys you the most? People misspelling your name or people going, "What's up, guys?" all the time to you?
I'm actually a little split on the people spelling my name wrong, because at some point I thought, why the hell did I choose this name? Nobody knows how to spell it. And it sounds Russian, but I'm not even Russian. It's like, it makes no sense. But at the same time, when you Google it, there's like nothing even close to it. It's just such a weird combination of letters and phrases that it's unique in its own way. So I would choose it again, and that's why I can, I can get over it if somebody spells it wrong.
What does it mean? What does Norwich mean?
I got that question. I got that asked many times. It's just another
annoying question.
That's cool.
What annoys you most? Misspelling Norwich, being asked what Norwich means, or
being asked
what guys?
Being asked what Norwich means is totally. It's like I'm also allergic to shrimp, and every time I say I can't eat shrimp, people ask me, what happens if you eat shrimp? It's like this kind of question that everybody asks. It's just annoying.
No, funny. So what's the answer?
The answer.
The answer.
The answer is
the most annoying.
The most annoying is being asked what Norwich means, for sure.
Okay.
100%.
Sweet. Cool. What's the I get asked to sign people's guns every so often, and just every so often get asked to sign things. What's the weirdest thing anyone's asked you to sign?
It wasn't the weirdest thing, but it was the most uncomfortable signing situation ever. A guy came here and he had a wooden stalk, a hand-carved wooden stalk for KCU2, and completely custom made, like really nice gun. And the guy gave me a pen and said, "Can you sign?" It was a Chinese guy. It was in Taiwan actually, and he said, "Can you sign low on it?" And he said North because he wanted the North signature, but I understood low and I thought it's his name. So I just took that like permanent marker, which obviously when you draw on wood, it like sucks itself into wood for like 5 millimeters or something. I just put a huge low onto that guy's stock. It was like, why did you write to my custom stock? I think that was
What's coming up in the future? Because when I was when we came to Austria for the SSG 10 launch, you gave a presentation of the SSX carbine and an SSX and a SSX AEG. Have you got? Is that the name for the? Is it going to? Is the AEG have a name?
It's called
SSR. When are they due for release? You said this summer for the carbine. Is it coming out this summer?
So, there's a bunch of stuff to it. we only announced those products because we had them in a final prototyping stage. But actually, this year we're planning to do, I think it's 6 flagship gun products, like its own systems again. But as talking about those two, the carbon kit, we actually got the pre-production prototype. I think
you said carbine kit. It's not a carbine kit though.
It's not a carbine kit.
Exactly. Yeah.
I should stop calling it carbon kit because some stuff on the inside changed. I got the pre-production prototype 3 days ago. We actually confirmed it, and it's Anyways, it's coming in September 2021. No,
it's a year.
No, 2020. 2020. Yeah, 2020. Okay, it's in a couple of months.
End of summer. Yeah.
Actually, I have a question.
AEG,
how hard are you allowed to shoot semi-automatic in the UK?
Legally, the same as bolt actions, but most fields put a limit on about 450 or 430, some FPS equivalent of, so that bolt actions have a little higher power than DMRs.
Okay. Because we actually brought it with we have like a new hammer mechanism stuff, and we bring it up to 3 joules semi, and
wow.
it's super interesting to shoot. It's like
wicked. The problem with because we can't get the Mark 23s much more powerful than like maybe I've had it up to about 420 or 430 FPS equivalent of, because there's just not enough gas coming out of it. Have you done something to be able to release more gas to get more power from a longer barrel?
We've been working on a magazine, and we actually saw at the beginning that one of the biggest limitations is the way of the gas is going, because it's not a counterbalance valve, which basically means if you put higher pressure inside, it's not very well balanced. You basically need the hammer to go against the pressure surface of the valve. Mm-hmm. So if you say, okay, I just put like stronger gas inside, actually what happens sometimes is that your valve opens for a shorter time and you get less output. And also the way that it's routed based on the original Marui design, it's like the gas goes up, it goes to the back, then it goes through the valve, then it literally goes like, and then it goes into the gas router. So it's super inefficient in its basic design. And I wanted to change that. But while we designed this magazine, we realized, God damn it, like finishing this magazine, it takes like another 6 months, which is why we're releasing it right now with a different hammer mechanism. And you can actually get it with the current magazine up to 3 joules.
That's enough though, isn't it, for most places?
So let's ask this question.
Come on.
So a question from my side. What do you think stops the Leaf Suit community from growing? Because I personally, when I look at sniping, how it used to be 5 years ago, it was really hard to access. Like you had to build it yourself and all of this. And, companies just stepped up the game, and sniper rifles, there's a couple of companies who make something that's right out of the box and it's very accessible. So when you go to a field now, there's tons of people using a sniper rifle. Mm-hmm. How do you think it's going to develop when you look at Leaf Suits and the Leaf Suit community? Can it become something like sniping?
I'm not sure it'll ever be as big. I certainly think it helps having the Mustang channel growing. Like when people go and see YouTube Airsoft, the thing that pops up mostly is sniping. If you search Airsoft on YouTube, you get sniping. So now, especially with the likes of yourself bringing out the SSGs, they give access, as you said, straight out of the box. So people they see it, they want it, they can get it. But I do think people want to have ghillies, and I think they want to have stealth. And when they taste what it's like to be invisible, taking those shots, I think they fall in love with it. Will it be as popular as normal airsoft? Probably not, that stealth style. But I do, in the UK, it's definitely a big thing. When you go and play skirmishes, you'll always have a bunch of Leaf Suits there now. You roll back the clock 6-7 years ago. They were 7 years ago, no Christ. You kind of got laughed at a little bit. People looked and made Wookiee noises and go, "Oh, look at the bush Wookiee over there," and those sort of comments, which didn't last past lunchtime once they started getting knocked about, getting shot up by people who they couldn't see. But what holds it back, I think, from getting bigger than it is that it does take crafting. You can't, even with the KMCS suit, you can't just go and buy a KMCS. Although it's very effective in some areas, you still do have to do some work to it. You do still have to adapt it a little bit. So there is always a little bit of craft, like making the masks and the hoods and camouflaging your equipment. It's very hard to, you can put on a KMCS ghillie suit, but if you don't put in a little bit of work on the mask and the gun, and you're concealing your equipment and then adding natural veg in the field, it's not as, you're not going to get the full effect of it. So it takes some work, and I think that's what limits its growth, but also what creates so many people who are passionate about it, because once you can craft it and you build it and it becomes really addictive, and it's not just a case of picking up your gun, going and playing, the game ends and you go home. It's you're constantly crafting and building, and there is a community around it, and I think that is what is its strength as well as perhaps its limit. If that makes sense? You have to keep working on it, and there isn't an out of the box, a complete out of the box solution. And you remember that if you go back, as you said, before the SSG was a thing, if you wanted to snipe, you had to learn teching. You had to know how to tweak your gun, and you had to work at it. And it's always a process of improving and getting the gun open and learning some skills. Now you don't have to do that so much.
Yeah, you don't have to be. I think that's actually what I dislike. I like it and dislike it at the same time. But I don't like how you have to be an expert in so many fields to do the sport. It's like if you want a radio, for example, you need to become an expert with radios. You need to understand anything. You need to buy 5 different headsets, and you have to find the different buttons. You have to find the frequencies. And then you need to set it up for your friends as well. So it's so hard. And for sniping, it's the same. And I believe leaf suits is. It used to be like really, really, really hard, because when you buy a leaf suit on eBay, they just rip.
Crap. Yeah.
They're crap. They just rip. It's like a women's stockings. They just rip their shit.
They thought about as soon as they catch on thorns, they rip and they tear, and all that work you put into it, it gets so ruined.
Yes, yeah. And now it's kind of like so you put out the KMCS, and now it's like an easier platform for crafting. You have the bigger holes. It lasts you at least, right? It lasts forever, so it's not going to break. So you already made like a step towards out of the box. But where do you see this going when it comes to like making it easy for people to actually have those suits? Because you talked about customizing. Do you really need to customize it, or could you offer like a selection of 30 different colors, schemes, and environments?
Yeah, you can do that. But it's the tweaking. Now the big difference between airsoft sniping and real world sniping is we do things at a much closer range. And as you've seen in some of my videos, you can literally get to within touching distance of people and not be seen. If you're not moving and your suit is perfectly crafted, you kind of, holy crap, there's actually someone there. It is like a magic in Harry Potter invisibility cloak. But to get to that standard, you'll never be able to produce that out of the box, because the amount of time you're intricately creating little modules of leaves and little modules of plants and grass that you're putting on, and it is a craft. So you'll never be able to get that out of the box. What you can get, say the KMCS, which is like the leaf floor. When you were in Austria, you saw how the leaves perfectly matched the floor. You can get that forest floor look quite easily. It's very difficult to get living vegetation perfect unless you're manually crafting it. So where I see this going in the future, I do think there's going to be more crafting packs with, perhaps you can create modules that can be attached, but it's the time, like the cost of the KMCS, why it's not half that cost is in the manual labor, because it's manually stitched and all the leaves are folded by hand, and there's one person stitching them. It's not like it goes in a machine and it gets 3D printed, or it goes in a CNC machine and then people just screw it together. They actually have to fold. Into the time consumption, and then you multiply that by, I don't know, 50 times, and you'll get to the level of the really intricate suits that people are making. And it's that time is always going to be a problem. I don't think you'll ever be able to get that out of the box. I can't see the technology being there to create things that are that perfectly lifelike. Even if you get the materials correct, to actually make it lifelike, that will always limit where how far an off-the-shelf solution will go.
I think
I see your cogs turning.
To every environment is different, and you can't say this is your field, take it. I already made it for you. Because the sniper community used to be this community of techs. It's like working on guns and working on guns and working on guns. And the thing is right now, the trend is that manufacturers, they're just improving and improving and improving to a point where it's really like you change a part, it actually shoots worse. Because a manufacturer just have different capacities. They can send a guy out for like 2 weeks of testing in a shooting tunnel, for example. And as a private person, you usually don't do that. But what's happening now is that I think the sniper community is kind of like, okay, we can't really upgrade guns anymore, or at least not to this degree. So we can go into customizing camouflage. So they still, it makes you feel special if you have something that you cannot just buy. It's like,
yes,
I made this. Look.
Yes.
So I think that's
exactly
part of this Leaf Suit community, that when people were so proud of their guns and this kind of like pride diminished, it's just evaporated, it's just gone, because now everybody can have it. Now we can make the Leaf Suits and have like a special exclusive piece of equipment.
Yeah, for 5, when you go back to pre-SSG days, people were so, when you shot someone's rifle and it was like, wow, what did you do to it?
Yeah.
And people shared their builds and how do you do it? And then they thought there were some secrets they could share. Now, there are obviously techniques and things, but then the SSG came out and it's like, holy shit, they can get a gun that shoots pretty much as well as most teched guns. What do you do to it? Nothing. I just bought it. And it kind of, it changed the game. And maybe, that kind of passion for tech, it's not like this black art anymore.
Yeah.
People like that black art. People like to have something that no one else has.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like an exclusivity club. If you wear the suit, you're like one of those guys that, I mean, maybe somebody cracks the code of, I don't know, making a suit with like screens on it and cameras, and it just like records the environment and protects it, or mirrors or something. I don't know. Maybe somebody comes up with something.
Yeah.
I don't know what's after that one. Yeah.
Camouflage, mate. I love it. I love camouflage more than guns and teching. And the guns, to be honest with you, teching guns, I find it boring. Like, I can do it, and I'm pretty good at it, but I'm like, oh god, I've got to sort out that hop on that. I've got to do this, and I can do it. But after you've done it over so many times and you've taken those damn VSRs apart, it's like, Jesus, got to unscrew all those screws again and put them back together again. It's such a pain.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Imagine how often you do that when you actually go into mass production.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Like, what's going on with Airsoft in Austria at the moment?
They were planning the first game 2 weeks ago, but then they stopped it again. Like, they literally had it, all over Facebook already. The refs were preparing for it, but I think 2 days before the game, they closed it down again.
Why did they cancel it? Did they say?
Government regulations. Just government regulations. They didn't give detailed infos. What's happening is that there is Airsoft games that are 10 people and less. Which is fun to think about, because as a field, if you have 10 people coming, like, this is nowhere close to making profit, right? It's actually a loss, but they're still doing it to, I guess, keep the community running, or just, because they don't have anything to do anyway, so they just do that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I don't think it's strange anyway. If people stick to safe distancing, I don't think it's. I personally don't see. I'm not an expert. I'm not a scientist, but I don't see there being any risk if we're playing outside and keeping safe distance. What's the difference between doing that and people who are walking down the street, or people who are in parks or going to the beach and things like that?
I think it's more like Airsoft is such a, like, the government doesn't have time to look at a small niche like Airsoft and make special regulations, which are. Man, I'm glad they don't make those special regulations, because if they would waste time, I know it's hard to say, but if they waste time on such a small community, they probably will waste way more important stuff. And if we can play for a couple months, so be it. If it's for easier regulating.
Did you play this weekend? Did you play this weekend? Did you travel somewhere to play?
I did travel, yeah, but I didn't play. We just put an M220 into an SG10 and we blew up stuff. Like we shot gas bottles right next to blowtorches and stuff. Okay. But playing, no, there's no playing.
Yeah.
Not for, at least.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fingers crossed. Next time we speak, with a play and everything is goes ahead. Christoph, thank you very much for joining me and doing this chat and podcast with me. It's been an honour to have you here, and I wish you the best success with everything in the future, and hope you and your staff stay safe in Austria, and hopefully see you on the other side once we get out of quarantine. It'll be good to hook up and actually have a game.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Yeah, same for you. Hope we can play again soon. Get some balance to, office work and all that.
Brilliant.
All right, good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, mate. Nice, my pleasure.
Bye, James.
Sweet.